Hello everyone, I am Dr. Kalpana Maheshwari from Shri Vishwakarma Skill University. In the previous lectures, we talked about business communication, its different types, the barriers to business communication and how those can be overcome. In this lecture, we are going to talk about leadership communication. So, the agenda for this presentation would be importance of communication skill for leadership, essential communication skills and overcoming the barriers. Now, when we talk about leadership, it is a very important aspect because a leader is someone who inspires positive incremental changes in the organization by empowering those who are around him and they can work towards common objectives. So, he is the one who is guiding them, he is the one who is directing them, motivating them and mentoring them. And the most important tool for any leader would be communication. And that's the reason that communication becomes more vital for the leaders, because they have to gain trust, align the efforts of people in the pursuit of goals and induce positive changes in the organization. When communication is lacking, important information can be misinterpreted, that might cause misunderstanding in the organization and ultimately can create rifts and barriers that hinders the progress in the organization. Nothing but poor communication can swiftly put you in the category of poor leader, and this is something that none of the leader would ever want to face. So, this is what establishes the importance of leadership communication. Now, one important thing, there are many other points that would establish the importance of communication in leaderships. We'll talk about them one by one. So, the very first thing is that it enhances employee engagement. Employees in the organization, they feel more engaged with the organization when they have say in decision making, when they are being given importance and they are being valued by the organization, and this can be shown to them by leaders. So, how do leaders communicate with their employees? How do they show them that they are being valued in the organization? That becomes very important. Then secondly, they align employees with the organizational goals. So, it is the leaders who would convey to people that what are the organizational goals, what is expected of people when it comes to achievement of targets and goals, and besides that they bring an alignment between the individual goals and the organizational goals. When there is a proper alignment between both, the employees would try to work hard, because that not only helps them achieve the organizational goals, but it also helps them achieve their own individual growth, which means that they can ascend the path of their personal growth, that is their career development. Then leadership communication also fosters trust and transparency. If the leaders share openly with the employees in the organization about the decisions that are being taken, the happenings related to the employees in the organization, that enhances the trust amongst the employees. That is the mantra of authentic leadership. So, if the leaders are transparent enough, if their communication is transparent enough, people would be able to trust them more. So, for instance, if in any organization some change is happening and the leaders are communicating with people constantly, people would be resisting less, because they definitely they will have their own fears, their own worries, but if the leaders are able, if the leaders are there to share the facts with them, if the leaders keep them informed, they won't have those kind of fears about the change. Then if the leaders communicate well with people, it enhances collaboration in the organization, because this results into a kind of teamwork as well. If people work together, they have a proper leader who's guiding them well, that enhances collaboration amongst different teams in the organization. And increased collaboration definitely at any point in time would result into development of the organization, that would result into enhanced productivity, which ultimately would result into increased profits. It improves the quality of leadership as well. So, if the leader is able to communicate effectively with people, that helps people understand the vision of the organization. And when they understand the vision of the organization, they exactly know how much related they feel with the organization, how much connected are they with the organization. And that helps them grow in their own trajectories, and at the same time, they can contribute more in the success of the organization. So, this is what establishes the importance of leadership communication. And as per the data, if we look at 3 out of 4 employees, they feel that leadership is something which is very important when it comes to leading a team. And 1 in 3 employees feel that leaders do not communicate effectively. And that's the reason that today we are talking about leadership communication. Why is it important? What skills do leaders need to have when it comes to communicating with people or communicating effectively with people? So, let us talk about the essential skills which are communication skills which are required for the leaders. The very first thing is that they need to have an ability to adapt their communication style. Now, every employee's motivations in the organization are different. So, knowing how to tailor your communication in such a way that you are able to influence others and reach the organizational goals. If we look at if we understand the employees' motivation through Maslow's hierarchy, we see that there are people who would expect only the basic needs to be achieved. There would be people who are more interested in safety needs, and then finally there are people who would require some challenging tasks because they are in self-actualization stage. So, the leaders accordingly have to adapt their communication style with these people. People who want challenging tasks, they need to guide them more, they need to mentor them more. But if it is somebody who is just at the basic need level, then you do not need that sort of guidance. It's just about conversing them, having an empathetic attitude towards them. That is what might be sufficient. So, how do you adapt your communication style is what the leaders should know, and they should do it. The next thing is active listening. Now, listening is a very important skill when it comes to communication, and at the same time, it is the most ignored skill as well. So, the leaders, when we always say that the leaders have to be very good talkers, very good orators, but then at the same time, they should know where to talk and when to listen. So, if they are not ready to listen to the opinions, ideas and thoughts of people, and at times the feelings of people, they would never be able to guide them well, and not even able to engage them well in the organization. Because if people are being heard to, then they feel that they are being taken care of by the organization, they are being taken care of by the leaders in the organization. So, for that, maybe the leaders can pose more questions, invite them to elaborate, take notes of what they are saying. So, these are different ways that the leaders can make the employees feel that they are listening carefully to them. For listening actively, the leaders have to show that they are prepared to listen, which means that they need to focus only on the speaker. They should avoid all sort of distractions when they are listening to people. For instance, not taking the calls or maybe not writing anything, because that would make the employee feel that the leader is eager to listen to them and is happy listening to them. If the leader shows that he is quite busy and it's a rushed conversation, the employee might not be happy. So, it's important that the leader has to set aside the time to listen, which means that he need to convey, he need to manage his time in such a way that he has some time set aside wherein he is going to only communicate with that person. The leader should be conscious that he doesn't prejudge the message, which means that he should listen to what the employee has to say, but he should not prejudge that. He should not look at who is coming with the message, but then what the message is. So, focusing more on the content of the message. Establishing appropriate eye contact with the speaker would make him feel that the leader is listening to him and that he is not, there are not other thoughts that are running his mind. So if the leader wants to make the employee feel that he is being heard to, and the leader is listening actively to him, he needs to establish a proper eye contact. This listening should be considered as an opportunity by the leader, that he is able to know what the employee thinks about the organization, about the project that he is working on, and this all gives him an idea of what should be done in order to improve the productivity of the employees. So in a way, this broadens the knowledge of the leader as well. The next important thing is about transparency. So as mentioned earlier, that trust and transparency is something that comes together. So if the leader is openly sharing about the company's goals, opportunities, challenges, they can build a trust among their employees. They have to be very clear, and at the same time they have to empower the employees to share their ideas as well transparently, and should be ready to collaborate. If the leaders are transparent enough, they are setting the model, which means that people also would be transparently sharing in the organization with their colleagues whatever is happening in the department. So it creates a safe place for active problem solving as well. So if the leaders are transparent enough, that creates a communication bridge amongst the different departments as well. Then comes clarity. So the more clear the leader is, the less confusion there will be amongst the employees. If there is confusion, if there is no clarity, they would not be sure that what are the targets, what are the policies, so their functioning would also become difficult. Clear, concise, cohesive message is what the employees expect for. They should know what they are working towards and how does that help them. So as I was talking about the change process, so the leaders have to very clearly establish the urgency of the change. They have to very clearly convey to them that why is this change required. It might be for survival, it might be for growth, and how does it help them. So that clarity is very important. The next important thing is ability to ask questions. So the leaders should have this ability to ask questions, because if they ask them open-ended questions, the employees might come up with a lot many information. They might have certain invaluable inputs that can be used in when changes are to be made in the organization, or in fact when things are to be improved in the organization. So Jennifer Currens, the president of consulting firm, he said to SHRM, that is the Society of Human Resources Management, to use the acronym TED. Now this TED stands for tell me more, explain what you mean, and define this term or concept for me. So this TED, if conveyed to people, they will come up with more and more. So gaining information from people, understanding what they think, understanding what their ideas are, that would help the leader a lot in establishing the changes that are required, or in seeing that how he should lead the team so that he can get the best out of them. Another important aspect is empathy. Now, this has been ranked by many as the top leadership skill. Why empathy is important is because if the leader is able to acknowledge and understand people's feelings or experiences, the more heard and valued they will feel. When you put yourself in others' shoes, you know where they pinch. That is what is empathy about. So the leaders have to see that what people feel about different aspects, what people feel about the different instructions or the guidance that has been shared with them. If people have any trouble, if they have certain needs or perspectives of theirs, those should be heard too, and accordingly the leaders should try to cater to the needs of these stakeholders in the organization. Then comes the open body language. So communication is not just what you say, but it is how you carry yourself. So if you show an open body language, people are able to trust you more, they will be confiding more in you. So if you are most of the time standing with clenched fists, people might not have a positive image of you. If you are sitting most of the times with arms across your chest, folded arms, so that shows that you are not open for any sort of ideas. So your body language should be such that you are happy listening to people, you are readily taking their suggestions, and that should be evident in the facial expressions as well. The next important thing is receiving and implementing feedback. So there are two things. One is receiving the feedback and second is implementing the feedback. Most of the times what organizations tend to do is that they receive the feedback. But just receiving would not help the leaders or the organization. Because once you receive the feedback and if you do not implement or work on it, that all becomes vague. So it's important that the leader, when receives the feedback, he works on it, because that is going to build the trust of the colleagues, that if the feedback has been taken, it will be worked on. It is critical that you don't just listen to feedback, but you also work on it. But if that trust is to be created among the colleagues, it becomes important to implement that feedback. So whatever changes are to be made, for all that the feedback should be received and accordingly should be implemented in the organization. So these are some of the skills that leaders should possess when they are communicating with the teams around. Now there can be certain barriers, and we've talked about these barriers in our last lecture as well. How do the leaders overcome the barriers that they might be facing? So the very first thing is that realizing that the communication is imperfect. When that self-realization comes, the leaders are sitting at a top position. So it is very difficult for anybody else to come to them and tell that this is not correct or this is not good. They themselves need to realize that there is something wrong with the communication. Once they realize it, then they try to make it perfect. Then they try to work towards it, they try to work on themselves and try to bring that perfection in their communication. Understanding to whom they are talking, understanding what sort of emotional stage that person into, understanding what motivational stage the person is into, and then the communication is adapted. Then adapt message to the receiver. So as I was saying, that the message that is to be conveyed to people should be according to the receiver. It's not always about the sender, but at times it has also to be about the receiver. So who all are in the team? What are the qualifications that those people possess? Which stage they lie into? Do they need do they need all directions for whatever is to be done, or is it just some sort of guidance that they need? So which quadrant do they lie in when it comes to leadership? That is to be understood. The next thing is choosing effective channels. At times, the leaders, if they do not meet their people and just try to send information through emails or maybe some other way of communication, that might not be helpful. Leaders are, the employees are happy when they get to meet their leaders face to face, when they understand or when they are able to see their leaders, their facial expressions, their gestures, they get more influenced by them. They get more inspired by them and are able to understand more, because that gives them that provides them with an opportunity to ask questions, to clarify their doubts. So what channel should be used for what sort of communication is to be decided by the leader. Then improving language and listening skills. So the leader might be quite competent, the leader might be quite good at communication, but those skills are to be shown with the kind of audience that you are with. So if the leader is with the lower level managers, the communication style would be different. If they are with the mid level managers, the communication style would be different. And in that process, the language also changes. What sort of language is to be used depends on the audience that they have. And of course, they should possess good listening skills. And we have talked in length about the listening skills. They should ask more questions. They should not rely on the preconceptions that they have, but they should try to explore more. They should try to learn more about employees. They should try to know more about the employees' background as well. That's going to help them understand the employees and what is the expectation of these employees. And then finally, the plan for feedback. There should be a concrete plan for receiving the feedback. It can be written, it can be oral, but it should be such that the leader is able to implement on it, and for that they need to regularly with the employees and understand them. So these are the ways that the leaders can overcome the barriers and can work in a better way for their employees. At the end of the day, it's all about communication. So if the leaders are able to communicate effectively with their teams, they can help them enhance their productivity, they can help them align their goals with the organization's goals, and thus all of them would be working towards the common goals. So that helps in achieving the vision and the mission of the organization. Thank you.